Hello, everyone. I nearly missed you, but I'm here. We had a little last-minute crisis. I went to the wine fridge to get my bottle of Devil Bean Creek Pinot Noir, and it had disappeared. Someone had drunk it. Luckily, there was more in cellar door. So after a quick run, I'm here, ready to go with my mushroom tart. Mushroom tart. I may have had a bit of a shout. Hopefully Richard will come back and have a glass of wine with us. It was Richard, of course, Dan. He does it to me. I've asked him not to do it so many times. Anyway, such is life. It's not the end of the world. Okay. So, mushroom tart wine. We're in the thicker vintage, so we're all a bit underslept and overdone. I know, Dan. I know. Hello, Rob. How are you going? Hello, Dan. You've got the crown tonight. Rita, hello. Hello, Kay. Kay said something, and I haven't had time to read what you said. Sorry, Kay. Hi to all. Change how your name appears so easy for Kate. Thank you, Kay. That would be amazing. And I can now see some people's names are back to how they were. Hello, David and Fiona. Hello. Hello, Craig. Craig, you're back. Welcome back. We missed you. I hope you've got Karen and Joan there as well. Hello, everyone in Sydney. I think a glass of Pinot will probably make everything better. Who have not said hello to? No, everyone. We usually have two. One is missing, the Pinot burglar. Yeah. Dave, what happened? Did you? Was it missing from the case when it arrived? Because if that happened, then probably Richard drank it before it left. Or have you maybe also drunk one of your two before the session? Anyway. Hello, Kay. Hello, Cotty and John with mushroom tarts. Lovely to see you. Missing. Okay, fair enough. Polly's exhausted, won't eat her food. She's been chasing birds under the net. Peter's gone home. I don't know if you're Peter and Nina, if you're home yet. Hello. Dave is purple and wearing a black mask. The hamburglar, the wine burglar. Okay, all right, let's get some wine in the glass. I think that's just going to make everything so much better. But before I put it in the glass, 2025 Devil Bean Creek Pinot Noir clashes nicely with my T-shirt. Shell and Andrew are in Canberra with John. Hello, John. Welcome to Drinks with Kate. I didn't have time to polish the decanter, so it's got a few fingerprints on it, but it is clean. Here we go. We'll give this a good old slosh into here. And then I'll slosh it in here. Excellent. Yum. Richard and Jill, the wine's open. Yes, it is a beautiful wine. Okay, we're quite excited about this. This wine was bottled in December. We have just sold out of the 2024 a little while ago, and our distributors are just kind of trickling it out. So they're basically finishing up with the 24 now. Hello, Jeff and Sue. How are you? Welcome back. Karen and Joan are here as well with this bottle of Ribena. I know, it's beautiful, isn't it? Come and sit down, Richard. I'm sorry for shouting at you. There's some Pinot Noir here. There's a mushroom tart there. Let's have a glass of Pinot and make up. So beautiful nose, red cherry, bright, juicy, delicious, crunchy fruit. Richard actually, I know exactly when we drank this bottle. I should have thought of it as well, but I just assumed that he'd got it from Celador rather than off my forbidden to touch shelf. Silly me. He served it for us at a staff lunch, vintage lunch last week, and did mystery wines with it. And we all picked it as Pinot. Most of us picked it as Mornington Peninsula Pinot. None of us picked it as a $35 bottle of wine. I just think this wine kicks way above its price point, and it's just a gorgeous glass of glug. Bright red fruit, absolutely, Kay. Lots of cherry fruit. There's a little bit of herbal notes coming up. Hello, Jack. Okay, guys, you've got to see this. Jack. Pussycat. Hello. Here we go. That's a rare glimpse of Jack, who's come to do Drinks with Kate with me. Where are you, Jack? There he is. Big fat cat. All right, that's enough. That's enough wildlife for today. Rare sighting, absolutely. He's come to join us. He's come to tell me off for shouting at his dad, I think. He's an absolute. Hello, Rita. How you going? He is a kitty. So I've got to get past this. Got to get past this nose, but I find it very hard. It is Mornington Pinot, really velvety red fruit, juicy but not too sweet. Definitely cherry, not. Oh, hello, Alison, as well. Nice to see you. G'day. It's definitely cherry fruit rather than strawberry or raspberry, I think, on the nose. Morello cherries, Connie's saying, I agree. And it's got this velvetiness to it, which is really hard to describe. But, you know, when you stick your nose in really a beautiful silk scarf or a velvet, it has this smell about it as well as a feeling. And I get that kind of aromatic, kind of smells like luxury. It's really beautiful. On the palate, it's really juicy. It's crunchy, red, juicy fruit. The acid makes your mouth water. It makes you need some food and another sip of wine. Fee's saying, I recall whenever Devil Bean Creek makes an appearance in Drinks with Kate prompts a flurry of people buying cases. Absolutely. Hello, Emily and Kev. Oh, Kevin's on his way. Well, hello, Kevin, when you get here. It is like smelling a Mr. Lincoln Rose, Linda. Absolutely. Velvety. Beautiful. Dad, Jack decided to be part of Drinks with Kate tonight. Absolutely. Yeah, he's been on camera and everything, haven't you, Jack? Yeah. There's the winemaker and his cat.
He's a very beautiful big cat.
Yeah, he sure is. Alrighty. Evening, Nareem. Hello to the Dyes. Good to see you. You made it. Yeah, there's a real rose petal, dark red rose kind of character to it. That shirt, I know, Rob. It's getting a bit tatty, unfortunately, but it's still pretty good. We're just working on a vintage T-shirt for the team this year because we never get it done before vintage because you don't know what vintage is going to be like. And I think if the T-shirt can reflect what the vintage is like, then Dad, Rob and Dan have both commented on your shirt, and Dan says it's the favourite of all of your shirts. And there has been a call in Drinks with Kate on previous sessions to have a celebration of Richard's T-shirts and just to hang all the T-shirts around so that everyone can come and look at them. So they're impressed. Rita missed the shirt. Come. People would like to see the shirt again, please. It's from a couple of years ago. You might. Oh, you're making a. Yes. There you go. There you go. Okay. It doesn't look like anybody else's logo, I don't think. There's no plagiarization there at all. Yep, thank you.
If it was, it'd be free advertising.
It would be free advertising for any green drink brand that might have a similar logo.
It's a good green.
It is a good green. Now, who's that? I can't, S Hans 8169. Who's that? You have to tell me who you are because I can't work it out. So many layers, Rob. Absolutely. Alison, hi. SH. Yeah, you need to tell me who you are. We're here too now. Love it, Richard. Shannon. It's Shannon from across the road. Hello, Shannon. Thank you, Peter. Nareem says, happy pending birthday, Richard. I think we're celebrating his birthday for the whole month of March. The actual birthday is the 28th of March, so that's Saturday week. Has a little, Craig, I think you're talking about the wine, having a little light incense about it. Yeah, there's an incensey kind of a perfume to it. Thanks, Dan. You can get it working at plough, absolutely. You can get it shoveling some grapes. I don't know what to rhyme that with though, so we'll just leave it at that. Okay, Shell is saying the Devil Bean Creek is pairing wonderfully with confit garlic, potato, rosemary, and gorgonzola pizza. Delicious. Bravo at Farah Shops. Excellent. Bravo pizza. Sounds pretty good. I think I'm getting, Craig mentioned a little bit of an incense kind of a lift to the wine, and I'm getting that quite strongly now. It's almost, there's also a sort of a chopped rosemary. I've put tarragon and thyme in my mushroom tart, which I'm going to chop into a few pieces. Peter's just realised that was one of the reasons I was trying to find you this afternoon, Pete, to see if you'd done that. So I'm glad you realised that. Pete's been running around like a headless chook this afternoon doing all sorts of goodness knows what jobs. Very important, very busy. But yes, the Devil Bean Creek product is not up to date in the shop, but it will be in a couple of minutes, and then you guys can buy it to your heart's content. Don't forget, though, Drinks with Kate Wine Club members, don't forget to log into your account on the shop before you order it so that you get if you order a dozen, you get your 15% discount. So that's very important. If you don't want a 15% discount, that's okay as well. We won't judge you for that, but I would like you to get it if you would like it. Hello, Peter and Karen. How you going? Things are out of the oven. I've just chopped up my little mushroom tart, and I'm going to have a bite of it with this wine. So, yum. Shannon, awesome to have you here. Emily's asking how you're feeling, all settled in now. And I'm glad to hear that we're going to be seeing you on the weekend. It's going to be great. So I made my mushroom tart is very, very simple. It's what Polly thinks she'd like some. She's just arrived at my feet. So I just got some puff pastry out of Jill's freezer, which is possibly a little bit old because it didn't puff up very much, but it still tastes good. I sauteed some baby oyster mushrooms and put some tarragon and some thyme and some garlic and some olive oil and some salt and pepper in with them and a bit of white wine. And then I got my puff pastry and I scored around the edges so that the edges would puff up a bit more than the middle, and put some Persian feta underneath the mushrooms, and then I baked them for 15 minutes at 200 degrees. Very simple. It's delicious. Very salty, umami, mushroomy, sort of salty, cheesy kind of, and then that buttery pastry, delicious. Very nice with the wine. For me, it dulls the really bright fruitedness. So this is a wine that at this age particularly, it makes a really nice aperitif sort of red wine. Can you see the tail? Can you see the tail wagging? She's desperate for some more mushroom. Paul, can you come here? No. Craig's saying you drink this and listen to Bauhaus. Excellent. You can chill this wine down a little bit if you want to, particularly on a hot day. It's pretty delicious, just slightly chilled. But it's also a wine that you can serve on a cold day at room temperature and have it with a, hearty meat stew. We had it the other week with a beef and capsicum stir fry, which had quite a lot of soy through it. So again, that lovely umami baseline to sort of bring up the fruit. Fee's saying this is everything that she loves about youthful Pinots, and I totally agree, Fee. I think that particularly this wine, we choose the brightest of fruit. It's not necessarily as complex or as savoury as some of our other Pinot Noirs, which need a little bit more time to kind of come together and express themselves fully. This wine is all about being light and bright and juicy and delicious, and the sort of wine that you don't have to think too hard about, that you can open with a pizza or some mushroom pasta or mushroom tarts, whatever you feel like. Have some sausage rolls, have bangers and mash. It's going to work with a lot of quite hearty flavours because it's not super savoury or super complex, but it's got really lovely intensity of fruit and brightness of fruit, and it's got really lovely structure. So even at the Devil Bean Creek level, the tannins are really important for us. You get that lovely tannin grip around the palate that sort of brings the brightness of the fruit just down a notch, which is nice. It doesn't really have the spicy or herbal notes that we see from some of our other Pinots. And it also hasn't seen any new oak. So it's just all about that gorgeous, bright young, velvety Pinot. Just watching Polly try to seduce Richard into giving her mushroom tarts. He's doing very well resisting her. Craig taking Kay back to her youth. Rita wants to know how this wine will age, and I'm pretty amazed at how these wines do age. You lose the brightness. You lose the brightness of fruit, but you gain some sort of softness and a bit more savoury coming up into the wine as it ages. I think that it's a wine that you can put in the cellar for 5, 8, probably up to 10 years. Not many people do, but you do get a little bit of sort of mellowing in the wine as it ages. You certainly don't need to drink it today or tomorrow. I think this is the sort of wine I would recommend. And you guys know we've had this conversation before, and in the past, previous Devil Bean Creek Pinots, I had to tell you to go and buy the wine from other people because we had so little of it that we'd allocated it all out to our distributors, and we had none at cellar door. That's not the case in 2025. Most of it's been allocated out, but because they've had a couple of years where it's been smaller quantities, they've kind of slowed down their sales. They're not showing it to anyone new. So whenever we sort of talk about it to customers, the newer customers are like, what do you mean Devil Bean Creek Pinot? I've never heard of such a thing. Whereas the people who've been buying wine from us for a while are very like, oh, is the new Devil Bean Creek Pinot out? Like you guys, they're like, better get onto that. So we do have some at cellar door. We won't put it on tasting at cellar door because there's no need. It's for you guys to buy for your weekday drinking if you want. It's for you to buy to drink while you're waiting for your other wines to sort of settle down and come around. We sell it down around local restaurants and retailers down here. So people who are drinking wine around the region can find it, and then they come to Cellador and say, oh, we had another wine of yours, it's not on the shelf. I say, okay, that's the Devil Bean Creek. And so it's kind of, it's a secret, it's a little secret handshake. I go, oh, I'm ready for my Devil Bean Creek now. But every time, I keep saying to Dad and Jeremy, and I know I've said this to you guys before, and I'm saying it very much tongue in cheek, but I keep saying to Dad and Jeremy, could we just make it a little bit less good and a little bit more volume? And the answer is, of course, no, we can't, because it's got to be a wine that we're proud of and a wine that we want to drink ourselves. We've kind of made a commitment to ourselves to keep it, significantly less expensive than the estate Pinot. So it's a bit more accessible than our other wines price-wise. Well, it's very, very difficult keeping it sort of, down around the $30, $35 a bottle mark. So it's going to keep creeping up bits and bits. Alison says she's making a savoury mince with Instagram potato and cheese waffles with Cavallo Nero chips. That sounds pretty delicious. Cavallo Nero, sorry. I do know how to say that properly. Just when I'm reading sometimes I get myself a bit stuffed up. Connie's saying the black garlic in their tarts makes the wine taste sweeter. Oh, that would be delicious, actually. Craig, I can also see Kay being a goth rock chick when she was young. Can we please see photos, Kay? That would be amazing. So Nareem, yes. So this wine, it's made very much the same way as our other Pinot Noirs, but doesn't see any new oak. So it's destemmed into a 2-ton fermenter. It's fermented with wild yeast. It takes about 3 weeks. It spends about 3 weeks on skins with a pre-fermentation maceration, fermentation, plunging while it's fermenting, post-fermentation maceration for a few days up to a week. We press it off and it goes to old oak. So we find even with a wine like with a least expensive Pinot, we want it to have time in old oak to breathe and sort of settle. So it spends about 8 months in old oak before we get it ready for bottling in December. So starts in February, March, finishes in December, goes out to the market the following January, February, depending on how it's looking. Rob, this group weekday drinking. Very funny. Shannon had to run over and buy more today as they'd already drunk theirs. Excellent, good work. It is a good go-to quaffing wine, and I will, because you're relatively new to Drinks with Kate, Shannon, and there are other people who are relatively new to Drinks with Kate listening in, I'm sure. This is a wine that sells out quite quickly. So, and it is, as you say, a very good quaffing wine. So it's definitely worth buying a dozen or 2 or 3 and sticking them under the house and drinking them kind of over. You'll go through a bit if you let yourself. And there's not a lot of Pinot Noir at the $30 retail mark, which is what we sell it for at Cellador, and particularly when we give you a 15% discount when you buy a dozen as Wine Club members, then it's ridiculously cheap. So I'll stop spruiking it now, but I think it's important to say it, because I don't want you to come back to me in 6 months' time and say, why didn't you tell us that the Devil Bean Creek Pinot Noir was going to sell out? So it's always the best vintage ever. Thank you, Craig. I think this is delicious. Okay, right. Rob. Also a lunchtime drink, says Fiona. Awesome wine to take to friends on a Friday night with a pizza. I agree, Rita. Cody says the Devil Bean Creek is the wine we drink when we want something delicious and comforting, so it disappears out of the cellar fast. Exactly. That's exactly the same for me. You don't have to think too hard about it, but it is delicious. It tastes like Pinot. It has enough tannin, it has enough depth, it has enough richness that it's satisfying, and you don't kind of get to the end of a glass, get to the end of a bottle and go, I don't really feel like I've had anything nice to drink yet. So Peter has updated the product in the shop. Thank you very much, Peter. That's unreal. So yes, you can buy like crazy now, guys. Go crazy. Shannon has 24 and 25. Which do I prefer? I like them both, Shannon. At the moment, I think that the 25 has more violet, kind of dark floral kind of notes, whereas the 24 has got, yes, Peter is reminding you again to log in to get your wine club discount if you're in the wine club. If you can't make that work tonight, then ring Liz Oleoni tomorrow, and I can put it through for you. So that'll be fine. Polly's in a real snit now because nobody's giving her mushroom tart. Okay, Dan says Dan's local retailer has some 24. So yeah, go and grab the 24, Dan. It's drinking beautifully right now. Inconceivable. Yes, indeed. The price point value is inconceivable, absolutely. And for all of you Princess Bride fans out there, apparently there's a screening of it going on soon. I don't think we've missed it in Melbourne. I think it's at the Melbourne Theatre Company or somewhere around there with live music. So it should be checked out, and possibly a group should go. So Devil Bend Wines, is it bought in fruit? Says Rita. Hang on a sec, Rita. Let me have a little nibble of my mushroom. That'll keep her quiet for about 2 seconds. Okay, so Rita, so Devil Bend Creek wines. We started making the Devil Bend Creek wines in the very late 90s, 1998, Richard says. I was going to say that, but I'm glad that the boss is here to tell the real truth. 1998. Now, I was working in retail at the time, and I remember when we started selling it. And the idea was that we made a second tier wine to sort of get people into drinking Moorooduc who weren't prepared to pay the $35 a bottle at the time of the estate wines. And they did very well for us for a while. And I think they retailed for $20 a bottle in the early days. They were really cheap. It was really cheap, $20 or $25 a bottle. I can't remember. Really cheap. And the idea was that it was from very young vine fruit that wasn't good enough to go to the estate wine. Then when we started working with other vineyards, it was that other vineyard fruit until we got the vineyards up to scratch for our estate wine, and then they moved on to being fruit that was appropriate for the estate wines. In recent years, Devil Bend Creek wine has become a bit of an issue for us because we don't have those young vines. We don't have those vineyards that are not up to scratch. So our decision making is what do we want the least to go into the estate wine, and often in the last few years, the fruit that's gone to the Devil Bend Creek wine actually is of a standard that it could very well go into the estate wine and make very lovely estate Pinot with a little bit of new oak and some other clones kind of mixed in together. But we have a market for the Devil Bend Creek wine at that slightly lower price point, and so we continue to make it. We have some very young Pinot vines that should be giving us fruit either next year or the year after that, which will then go to Devil Bend Creek for probably the first 5 or 6 years of their fruit producing life, possibly a little bit longer. We used to make Devil Bend Creek Chardonnay. We were just reminiscing today about the fact that we used to get so much Chardonnay from this vineyard, from our other vineyards. All the young Chardonnay vines were cropping like crazy. Nobody was drinking Chardonnay. We didn't know what to do with it, so we had Chardonnay coming out of our ears. So we made a lot of Devil Bend Creek Chardonnay in the day. Now we don't have those high cropping vines anymore because they've all got older and they produce smaller crops. We've had difficulties with flowering and fruit set for the last few years because of the weather. because of the climate, and that means that we haven't had any fruit to go to Devil Ben Creek Chardonnay. So we stopped making Devil Ben Creek Chardonnay about 4 years ago, and there's no conceivable time when we will make Devil Ben Creek Chardonnay again in the near future. It's not because we don't want to, it's just we can't source the fruit, and I'll come back to that in a minute. We are about to relaunch from 2026 a Devil Ben Creek Pinot Gris if it works out, because we feel that it's important to have a white wine in the Devil Ben Creek range as well as a red wine. When I say we can't source the fruit at the moment comes from vineyards that we run, and sometimes declassified fruit even from the McIntyre vineyard. So Rita, the minimum requirement for fruit for Devil Ben Creek Pinot and other Devil Ben Creek wines is that it has to come from the Mornington Peninsula. But it's quite hard to find decent fruit to buy when you haven't farmed it yourself. So at the moment, we're pretty much using fruit from the vineyards that we work with, and those vineyards are producing less fruit than they used to. So we're also having a little bit of an issue with supply for the Devil Ben Creek Pinot Noir, which means I think Dan was saying that don't remember the previous vintages being this well integrated. I think that it is possibly recency bias a little bit, but I think also this is a pretty delicious wine. 2025 was a more generous year than we've had for a number of years. We had beautiful ripeness in the fruit, and so I think 2025 was a great year, and we made a decision because it was a slightly more generous year as far as volume was concerned than we've had for a number of years. We made the decision to declassify a bit more of the fruit that could have gone to estate and put it in Devil Ben Creek, so we had more Devil Ben Creek to sell, because even though we make less money selling the Devil Ben Creek, we get it out earlier than the estate wine. It's really good for cash flow. So that decision was made. So there's a bit more Devil Ben Creek 2025 than there has been in previous years. And I think it's better because it's got some pretty special fruit in there. And it's a bit of a secret Santa kind of a wine. We don't talk to many people about it. I talk to you guys about it because, you deserve to be in on the secret. But it's just delicious, isn't it, Fee? Now, people are asking questions. So Rita, I hope that answered your question. We've been talking over the last couple of years about whether we'd be happy to make a Devil Ben Creek wine or wines from fruit that wasn't from the Mornington Peninsula. We've made the decision for now that that's not something that we want to do. We've always been proudly 100% Mornington Peninsula wine across our whole portfolio, and we would like to continue to do that. It's getting more expensive, it's getting harder, but we're going to keep working at it. So yeah, it's Nareem's saying 25, warm year and picked very early for the Peninsula. Absolutely, in February. It was the earliest vintage, start of vintage that we've ever had, and it was pretty busy. So yeah, that warmer year I think gives it more of that richness, darker fruit. It wasn't actually super warm, but it was very consistent, and we had rain at the right times, and not at the end of the growing season, but at the beginning of the growing season. And then it was sort of dry going into autumn and during the picking. So 2025 was a really nice vintage, and I think you're going to be very pleased with the other wines from 2025, particularly the Pinots. We think they have an incredible perfume to them. The Chardonnays are a little bit more forward, a bit more generous than some vintages have been, but they still have delicious flavour, and I think they're going to be real crowd pleasers. But the Pinots are super exciting. Kay's saying such a juggling act for cash flow and holding on to wine. Thank you. Holding on to wine means that we do need to generate cash flow in other ways. So there you go. Other questions? Older vines do yield a lot less fruit, Rob. Absolutely. And depending on how healthy they are and what's going on, and we've done a bit of conversion of our canopy. We had Scott Henry through a lot of the vineyard, which was one which was a double canopy essentially, going up and down to try and maximise sun exposure. And then we discovered that we didn't really need to do that. And by converting those vines meant that they were reduced in their fruit offerings for a few years, but we're finding now that those vines are coming back online with a cane spur pruning. We're getting better quality fruit and a little bit more fruit again. So, it's a cycle. It's a bit of a cycle. Cotty, the rain earlier this week, has it affected the harvest? Well, it might have slowed a couple of things down, but we're probably, for the Moorooduc Estate wines, we make a bit of wine for other people, and we've got some wine, and we've got one vineyard that we're working with newly for Moorooduc Estate, which is up the hill in the south. So that's probably a couple of weeks away still. Maybe Dad's saying maybe not quite that long. Jeremy was saying a couple of weeks to me earlier today, but it's an ever-changing thing. But the rain, we didn't have a huge amount of rain, did we, Richard? 8.5 millimetres here, so not a lot of rain. Not a lot of fruit left on the vineyards. So, yeah, a little bit of disease pressure, but no, I think we don't want, I'm going to touch some wood, we don't want torrential rain for the next couple of weeks. It would be nice not to have torrential rain for the next couple of weeks. And a bit of kind of gentle sunshine would be nice just while we get the last of the fruit in. We have friends up the hill as well who are probably are either just starting vintage or haven't started yet. So so there's bits of the Mornington Peninsula that would very much like us to have a bit more sunshine and very little rain for at least another 3 or 4 weeks. But, what can we do? Nature will do what nature will do. Fee's excited about the Pinot Gris. I know the old Devil Bean Creek was delicious with spicy food. So I'm hoping that the 2026 Devil Bean Creek Pinot Gris will be delicious as well. Slide aside, Dan wants to know, would the Devil Bean Creek Pinot Gris be more Grigio style? Dan, I saw the chat on the thing. You're really trying to suck me into this Grigio thing. If it is, we'll still call it Gris. And I had a conversation with my Sydney distributor, and he's like, oh, would you call it Devil Bean Creek Pinot Grigio? I'm like, no, we wouldn't. What I can say is that the idea is for it to be slightly earlier picked, so it's slightly lower alcohol, slightly more restrained flavour, a little bit tangier acidity. But it's the first time we've done it, and this year's been a really weird year, so we'll just wait and see. We'll make it pretty much the same way that we make the estate Pinot Gris. Possibly a bit of the wine will be fermented in stainless steel, but we're not really sure. Dave, do I have a Gruggello? Are you talking to me? I don't understand. Are you talking about Grigio? Grugio. I don't have a Grugio against Pinot Grigio. I just think that's a good name for Gris that is grown and made in Italy because it's the Italian name for the grape variety. I have a grudge against Australians trying to define a Gris style and a Grigio style because I think it's not done very well. I think it's very confusing. And there's some Gris that I've had that are dry. There are some Gris that I've had that are sweet. There's some Grigios that I've had that are light and early picked and overcropped, which are not very exciting. I've had some Grigios from northern Italy that are incredibly intense and flavoursome, but very savoury and delicious. So, okay, that's enough about that because we go on and on about Grigio. What is my thought, says Fee, about 2026 vintage so far? I'm not prepared to count my chickens before they hatch, Fee. It's a bit smaller than we hoped that it might be earlier on in the season because it's been so dry. So very small berries, quite small bunches. There's some really nice flavour intensity and ripeness. There's a little bit of sunburn in some of the fruit that may or may not have an effect on the quality of some of the batches, but that's why we make our wine in lots of small batches. So we have the opportunity to declassify or upgrade things depending on how good they're looking. yeah, I haven't formed an overall opinion of 2026 yet. What I will say is that the big, generous, delightful, gorgeous vintage that we were hoping for kind of died in the ass a little bit with the super dry summer, and then those very hot days did a bit of damage to the canopy. But I think we're going to make some really lovely wines, just maybe not quite as much wine as we'd hoped. So yeah, if you're coming along on the weekend, we might be able to have a look at a couple of things. And if not, we'll do it later this year. So Rob has elucidated this a little bit for us, some fun rainfall facts for the Moorooduc area. 2024 and 25 calendar years were both about 150 millimetres below average. 2026 has been insanely dry, less than 40 millimetres. Is that in the whole growing season, Rob, or is that that would be since the beginning of January, I imagine, as we're talking about calendar years. But yeah, it's been a really super dry start to the year, and the vines and everything's really kind of struggling a little bit. Yes, Kat, thank you. My brain's catching up to your writing slowly. Dan's outing himself as a former farmer. Very good. Nareem, our up the hill hobby Pinot crop is 10 to 17 days from being picked, a month later than last year. Yeah, last year was the earliest vintage ever. This year is one of the later vintages in recent history. So, it's just that dryness and that coolness in November, December kind of slowed everything down. And then the hot weather did some damage to canopy, which is also going to impede some of the ripening ability of the vine. So in a way, it's fortunate that the crops are less volume than we thought they were going to be, because losing some leaves in the canopy means that the vines can ripen less grapes. So yeah, I think there's a nice balance out there. The birds are going crazy, and we've got almost all of our fruit in except for the Shiraz and a bit of Chardonnay. Is there any Pinot still to pick here, Richard? No. And the birds are going crazy. They're getting in under the nets, and we're having to do bird shooing on a regular basis, which Polly's very good at, but then she catches them in her mouth and sometimes forgets to hold them gently to release them, and then it's all a bit traumatizing. Anyway, this wine's opening up really nicely. It's getting more Morello cherry, I think. But there's also a little bit of a lolly shop kind of aromatic going on now. There's sort of raspberry jubes or something like that on the nose. I'm not quite sure what it is. A little bit more mushroom tart. Which is cold now, but it's okay. It's still delicious. So can you guys believe that we're at the end of box 1 already? It's ridiculous. Sorry, I've got pastry in my teeth now. So we're at the end of box 1. We've got a couple of weeks break before we start box 2 at the beginning of April. We have a couple of things going on here at Moorooduc over the next couple of weekends, which is exciting. Where's the Festival of Richard and the Festival of Vintage 40 at Moorooduc Estate is being spread out over this Sunday and next Sunday. And thank you to all of you who have booked in. Both events are fully booked now, so unless we have someone pulling out, then that's it. Box 2, we will be starting in a couple of weeks, but of course, I again have not looked at what we're starting with. I have a feeling that it might be, I know that there's a 2012 McIntyre Chardonnay in there somewhere. I can't remember what our first wine for box 2 is. So if someone wants to shout that out, that'd be great. But I can tell you about the guest wine for box 2, Craig. The guest wine for box 2 is from our friends on the Mornington Peninsula. The winery is called Moorooduc Estate. It's owned by a lovely man called Parandeep, who is of Indian descent, and he makes very small quantities of beautiful wine. Pete will be delivering some wine he delivered some wine this week. He'll be delivering next week, possibly the week after, Peter and Karen. So if there's a time that suits you better, just let Leonie or Liz know. Just send me an email or a text message. We can sort you out. Chardonnay 2024. Thank you, Linda. Nazare does well. They do serve food. I'm not sure I guess it is a restaurant. They serve food. They have a chef, and the food is sort of Indian inspired. And I have not eaten there. I hear it is absolutely delicious. And it's one of those things that I would like us very much to explore with box 2 is I'm going to ask Parandeep what his favourite thing is to eat with his Pinot Noir. We're having the 23 Pinot Noir, and we're having it the week after or the week before. We just have a quick little revisit of the Moorooduc Estate 23 Pinot Noir. I think it's 23. Yeah. Anyway, it's going to be lots of fun. Noreen wants to know what's happening in the time slot over the next 2 weeks. 22. Oh, thank you, Linda. I thought I was like going crazy saying 23. It's 20. They're both 22. They have cute little tasting rooms, old trams or trains, says Cotty. And they do, for special events, they have Bollywood dancers as guests down there. So they're definitely worth checking out. I really like their wines. Parandeep makes the wine himself. He's a retired doctor, certainly medico by training, makes very small quantities of the wine. It's not out and about that much, but anyway, I'm not sure whether he'll be able to join us for the tasting, but if he can, then that'll be lovely. If he can't, then we'll definitely send out his favorite recipe to eat with the Pinot. And we had the choice between the 22 and the 23 Pinot, and I just thought the 22 was so delicious. It's a bit more expensive, but it's worth it. So that will be lots of fun. Linda has reminded me, as you can probably see, that it's the Estate Chardonnay 24 that we are doing in 3 weeks' time. Yes, it is the southernmost vineyard on the Mornington Peninsula, Rob, absolutely. Very interesting. So a little excursion down to visit Nazare, if you like the Pinot, would be definitely worth a visit. Dan knows where it is, down near Flinders IRC. I can't read that. Anyway, 3 weeks, Alison, I know. So it doesn't mean we can't get together over the next couple of Thursdays, I say, slightly trepidatiously because I haven't looked at my diary, but I have a feeling I'll probably just be here doing vintage. So we could probably do another grape variety one of those weeks. And Alison's had a Coravin failure. Oh dear. Well, that's very disappointing. If I recall correctly, is what that means. Dan, help. Yes. Anyway, so next week I'll send you an email on Monday with a grape variety suggestion. We'll drink someone else's wines next week, if I recall correctly. Oh, thank you, Dan. Sorry, just being a bit dumb and vintagey. Gotcha. Yes. Oh. Oh. Sorry, those beautiful sunflowers that Linda put into the vase for us today come from, thank you, Linda, come from Dad's beautiful cover crop, which has also been slowed down by the very dry summer that we've had. But that little tiny bit of rain might not have made a huge difference to the grapes, although it might have slowed a couple of picks down for us. The cover crops have just started to kick off and they're looking terrific. So those sunflowers are a beautiful example of some of the things that we're growing in our cover crop. Thank you for pointing that out, Dad. I did mean to say something about that because they are quite magnificent. Nareem, the Dyes are going to London and Champagne the first 2 weeks of April. Not sure if it'll be early morning drinking for the first 2 weeks of October. Oh, no. Also, you'd have to carry them with you. But anyway, I think you should because other people have. I do it whenever I travel. And Shell and Andrew had a bottle of wine on the train from, if I recall correctly, they were coming from somewhere in Germany to Paris, and they had a bottle of wine on the train while we were doing Drinks with Kate at 8 o'clock in the morning or something stupid. But no, we will understand if you can't make it. But we'll do, that's a good idea, actually. Craig, Gruner night next week. Who's up for some Gruner Veltliner? Or groovy, as the Americans like to call it. I think we should do a Gruner Veltliner. You can drink Australian Gruner Veltliner. You can drink Gruner Veltliner from Austria. I will find some bits and pieces to talk about. It's delicious. It's a good grape variety for us to have a bit of a play with. So on Monday, I'll send out some recommendations for some things that you might be able to pick up at your local-ish bottle shops. If you've got a favourite local Gruner or Austrian Gruner that you want to shout out, feel free to flick me an email. What else am I missing? Nareem, Peter and Karen flying via Singapore, so hopefully safe. Yeah, I know you will be taking your Drinks with Kate bottles with you. Good work. Have you got a storm there, Shell? Oh, that's right, you're not in South Melbourne. I'm looking across to see, but you're in Canberra. Oh, dear. We were just talking about you while you were out. It is a fun wine to match food with too, Gruner, so I'll send you a recommendation as well. Peter is sending you a little note. The Devil Bean Creek Pinot Noir 25 is only available by the dozen online. At Cellador, people can buy the wine, Pete, but you only get the 15% discount if you buy a dozen. Otherwise, you just get your normal 10% discount. I think, but why would you buy less than a dozen? I don't know, honestly. Do I have a favourite Gruner from Austria, Craig? I will have to do a little bit of a rustle around in my cellar and see what I've got. There's a few producers that I do drink on a semi-regular basis. I shall come back to you on that. I'll send you an email on Monday. We can talk about it all again next Thursday for anyone who cares to join us to talk Gruner. In the meantime, I'm going to go because my dog's now barking at Jill with quail. Anyone who's coming on Sunday, there'll be quail with some old Pinot. For the rest of you, have a wonderful week. Thank you, Linda. What have I missed? I think Kay had Gruner Veltliner with seafood linguine, quite a bit of chili, really nice. We'll talk about it. Schnitzel, absolutely. Cheers, everyone. I will see you all very soon, even next week. Take care. Enjoy your Pinots. We'll do Gruner next week. Cheers, everyone. Thanks.